Could your retirement plan be missing something? Many people assume that the 401k is the only path to retirement because it's what they hear everybody talking about. But what if I told you that there was a unique tool that wealthy families have been using for decades, and it's not just reserved for the ultra rich? In this video, we're going to dive into which plan might be better, the traditional 401k route or the path the wealthy have chosen, what we call an IUL. In this video, you will learn what an IUL is, how it stacks up against a 401k, the benefits and the downsides to each one, and how to choose which tool or potentially tools might make the most sense for you. Now, where do I get the credibility to be talking on this topic? I have been a licensed financial coach for just shy of a decade, and I've been helping clients essentially plan for retirement with tools like IULs my entire career. And I truly do believe there's a time and a place for both a 401k and an IUL. It's just knowing the timing and knowing the placement of each product. So let's dive in. First, what is an IUL? Well, IUL stands for Index Universal Life, which is a form of permanent life insurance that actually grows a cash value component behind the life insurance. And it grows by you overfunding the cost to own the actual life insurance itself. And that money will grow tracking a stock market index of your choosing, like the S&P 500 or the NASDAQ. And here are some of the benefits. The first one is lifelong insurance protection, which means you have the life insurance that's attached to this policy for as long as you live, assuming your premiums are paid. Next, you have potential for cash value growth because the cash value component of your IUL is tied to the performance of a stock market index like the S&P 500 or the NASDAQ, so you get the chance to grow right alongside with it. Then from there, we have no stock market risk because you don't have to worry about losing money in an IUL due to the stock market. The insurance company will assume all the risk. You get a 0% floor. The next one is flexible access to the cash value, meaning you don't have to come up with a reason to use the cash value. You can get access to it at any age, at any time without any penalty. As long as there's cash value there, you have access to it. And you also have the ability to borrow against your cash value tax-free. Yes, IULs have something called policy loans. Your cash value is going to grow tax deferred, but you have the ability to borrow it out tax-free and essentially have the same dollar working in two places at one time. There is also no RMD requirement or required minimum distribution because an IUL is not technically a retirement plan and you are contributing into it with after-tax dollars, so there is no RMD. There's also no contribution cap. You can configure your IUL to be able to hold as much money as you want every single year with no cap. It's based on the size of the death benefit. So the more life insurance you get, the more money you can put in that policy every single year. Now I know it sounds great, but there are some downsides to an IUL. The very first one that you're going to see over here is the fact that you do need to get approved. There's a life insurance policy attached to this. So they will look into your age, your health history, and your criminal background. And assuming that you're healthy enough and you're not considered a big enough risk, you'll be able to get approved for one of these plans. Another downside people may see is the fact that typically your growth is going to be capped in some way, shape, or form. I always tell my client, it's not too good to be true, it's just too good to be free. You're going to give up a little bit of the growth of the cash value in exchange for zero risk when the stock market goes down. Another downside could be that it's not fully liquid for 10 to 15 years. You can't get access to all of your cash value while you're in what's called the surrender period of the contract. Think of it kind of like the vesting schedule with your 401k, where every single year you vest a little bit further in the 401k. It's similar to that with an IUL. And it's really more so to protect the insurance company. But once the surrender period is up, you have access to all of your money. And another downside is the fact that the premiums must be maintained for typically between 5 to 10 years, meaning you've got to continue to fund it. It's not an account that you can really just start and stop very easily. Okay, so what is a 401k? A 401k is another version of a qualified retirement plan offered to you through your employer, where you have the ability to contribute through your paycheck directly into this account, either in a pre-tax or a post-tax basis for retirement. Okay, now the benefits to a 401k. First one is it's very easy to contribute because the money comes directly out of your paycheck. You don't even need to think about it. It's super easy to fund this plan. The next one is the employer match. Let's say you put in 3% of your check and your employer matches you 3%. You have to look at this as an immediate 100% return on your investment. It's ultimately just free money. The next one is tax planning. The 401k allows you to contribute either pre-tax money or after-tax money into the IUL. So if you think taxes will go up in the future, you might want to pay your taxes today and contribute post-tax. If you think taxes will go down in the future, you might want to defer paying your taxes until later when you think taxes might be lower. The next one is potential for stock market growth. because you're contributing directly into the market in either mutual funds, ETFs, or sometimes even company stock. You get direct access to the market. So whatever the market does, your account will reflect it. And the last one here I think is a big benefit is you don't have to contribute. So if there's a period of time where you can't put money into it or you change your mind and want to invest somewhere else, you're not going to get penalized by not contributing into your 401k. Okay, now looking at some of the downsides to the 401k, the first one is there is a contribution cap, which means you can't put in more than a certain amount every single year. So if you're under the age of 50, your contribution cap is $23,500 a year. If you're over the age of 50, your contribution cap is $31,000 a year as of 2025 at least. This will change in 2026, of course. So if you want to save more money than that, you can. The next one here is limited liquidity. Unless you retire by age 55, if you try to touch your money before age 59 and a half, you're going to pay some penalties, and that gets expensive. The next one is required minimum distributions. If you're contributing into a traditional 401k, you will be forced to start taking money out, at least as of 2025, by the time you turn age 73 or 75, based on your year of birth. And you might want to just leave this account as a legacy, and unfortunately, you can't do that. The next downside is unfortunately stock market risk, because as we said before, whatever the stock market does, it's going to reflect in your account. So if the stock market happens to go down or have a crash, you're going to experience it. The next one is taxation in retirement. Again, if you choose a traditional 401k, your money's growing tax deferred, which means when you pull that money out after age 59 and a half in retirement, you will have to pay all your taxes then. And the prediction is taxes will go up. So if that's the case, you might end up paying a lot more money in taxes later because you waited. The next one is fees and limitations on investment options. Your employer is going to control all of this inside the plan. And unfortunately, 401ks are known to have pesky high fees because of the investments you choose and all the management and transaction costs inside the plan. And usually your investment options are limited. Even though they're now opening up what you can do with a 401k, you still will have way more options if you go private than invest through your employer. Okay, so which one is better, the 401k or the IUL? And to be honest, it really just depends on your goals for your money. For employees, a lot of times the 401k is really easy because the money is just coming right out of your paycheck. It's not complex, it's super simple. But the wealthy tend to prefer the IUL because, again, it's tax efficient, the money is growing tax deferred, accessible, tax free. You get the safety of principal and the flexibility to use it for whatever you want. I usually recommend looking at an IUL once you've contributed into your 401k and you're hitting the match on what your employer contributes. If you get a match, of course, not everybody does. But if you do, then start looking at diversifying into an IUL because it's going to give you some more tax efficiency, some flexibility to use the money for whatever you want, and the ability to create a legacy because of the death benefit protection that comes with it. At the end of the day, I always say there's no perfect product. I always recommend consider using both. It doesn't have to be a one or the other. Sometimes a percentage of your savings going into each one is the best option. At the end of the day, you need to remember that an IUL is not a retirement plan. However, it can act as one if you set it up and you structure it correctly and you fund it correctly throughout the course of your life. Now, that being said, I recommend that you share this video with anyone you can think of that is in the process of doing retirement planning. I've linked 2 videos here for you as well that will walk you through a little bit more about how it works. And as always, make sure you subscribe because you don't want to miss another video teaching you some cool tips and strategies on what to do with your money. I will see you back here next week on YouTube.